Hi, I'm Miss Hollingsworth. You may recognize me from the class we spend nearly an hour in together 5 times a week. Today, I'd like to talk to you about interviewing, and I've asked my very important and very busy twin brother to assist me in teaching you what you should and shouldn't do during an interview. Hey, perfect timing. Here's Bill.
Hi, sis. Hi, guys. Nice to meet you.
Ready, Bill?
Ready.
All right then. We'll start with what should happen before the interview. There are some key things you'll need to remember. First, you'll need to research your topic beforehand, collecting information and becoming familiar with your topic. Bill actually has a great resource to show you.
Yes, indeed I do, sis.
It's a web resource.
You can either get to it with this URL or by searching for 10 ways to use NY Times for research. Either way, you'll arrive here. Then you'll want to click on this site search link. And now you have access to the New York Times database, where you can conduct at least part of your research. So let's say my subject matter is mustaches. I can search here for mustache and then voila, some articles about mustaches for me to explore.
And there you have it, a great research tool. Even if you don't use the New York Times tool, you have to research and prepare. Once you've done that, you're ready for the next step. Set up the interview. Contact the person and politely explain that you want to interview them. Choose a location to conduct the interview where the interviewee will be comfortable. Probably not Starbucks, where it's noisy and you're not guaranteed to find a good place to sit. Plus, the whole atmosphere is very public and all about getting in and out, which may dissuade the interviewee from sharing information and taking the time to answer meaningfully. Okay, so you've picked a place and time for the interview. Now, very important, you need to prepare your questions. Prepare more than enough. When writing them, have a goal in mind. You should know going into the interview what you want to get out of it. Then, practice asking your questions with a partner. You'll want to be as familiar as possible with your questions. Now here's Bill to show you what you'll need to take with you to the interview. You'll want to have a pen or a pencil for note-taking and a place to take notes. A notebook is great because it's more professional than a big, messy pile of scratch paper. And don't forget those questions you prepared. It's also great to bring along a recording device to help with accuracy later when you're writing. Some people even recommend bringing along a friend as an extra pair of eyes and ears, as long as your interviewee is okay with it. Thanks, Bill. And please remember, if you do use a recording device, ask the interviewee for permission first. So what else do you need to remember? Be on time! Get there early and take notes on the place where you're conducting the interview. You may find you want to include it when you're writing about the interview later. And you may even want to take notes on what the person is wearing and how he or she is acting during the interview, in case you find it useful later. Which brings us to the next topic, what you'll do during the interview. Very important. Take notes. Even if you're recording the person, take notes. It's not important that you get everything down word for word, but you do want to get the highlights. Now, to help you understand what you should and shouldn't do during an interview, I'm going to conduct a mock interview with Bill. I'll be the interviewer and he'll be the interviewee. Here's the first handy tip. Don't try to sound smart. I'd like to ascertain your instinctual preoccupation with facial hair and what psychological factors went into the ultimate verdict to produce some on your own visage. Yes, well, What? Instead, just be clear. In fact, questions that seem too simple or too boring will probably get the interviewee to provide more interesting answers. When did you first become interested in mustaches? So glad you asked. When I first saw the TV show The Simpsons, I was immediately impressed with the character of Ned Flanders. He just had such a powerful face, and I have to say it was because he was rocking that mustache. Here's another tip. Avoid leading questions. This means you have a certain answer in mind, so you phrase the question in a certain way to get at that answer. This is a bad tactic because it won't lead to very interesting answers. Here are some examples of leading questions, which again, you should not do. Wouldn't you say that this man's mustache is hideous? Yes. And isn't it true that you only grew a mustache to impress ladies? Well, no. I don't know. Try something like this instead. What do you think of this man's mustache? I really like this one. The color is great, obviously. And I think the sunlight would really bring out its golden hues. Why did you want to grow a mustache? As soon as I was capable of growing one, I wanted to have something that made me unique. Plus, like I mentioned, I really admired the powerful appearance of Ned Flanders, so I aspired to look just like him. See? Much better. An easy way to think about the right kind of questions is this. Use words like what, how, and why. Or you could use tell me about. These are open-ended questions. Less frequently, use who, when, and where. These are close-ended questions. And again, try not to ask questions where you've already assumed the answer and are just trying to verify it. Let's see some more questions in action. If I ask Bill, when did you decide to grow a mustache? He might respond with the not too exciting answer of, when I was 10 years old. But if I ask him, what was it like growing a mustache? It leaves him with the opportunity to be more descriptive and thorough in his response. So, don't do the following. Is your mustache itchy? Yep. Do this instead. How does it feel to have a mustache? I find it both empowering and itchy. I go about my day feeling strong and confident. When I walk into a room, people respect me. At the same time, I have to fight the urge during my important business meetings not to scratch my upper lip because it does sometimes get a little
Okay,
itchy.
great.
Oh, I wasn't done talking. That's okay. I got what I needed. Next question. Whoa! That was insulting. You should never do during an interview what my sister just did. That is, don't be rude. Please and thank you and making eye contact and actually listening to the person are absolute musts. Which brings me to my next point. How to actually listen. Certainly you've come to the interview prepared, having done your research and written more than enough questions, which is excellent because there should be some structure and formality during the interview. But you also need to mix the formality with a conversational tone, letting questions and answers flow in a natural sense. If the interviewee brings something up in their answer that naturally leads to a different question than the one that's next on your list, ask the more natural question. For instance, explain your grooming process. I wake up at 3 a.m. every morning to make sure I have enough time to trim my mustache. Interesting. Besides Ned Flanders, who are your influences? Now you'll notice those two questions asked by my sister had absolutely nothing to do with each other. Let's try that again, shall we? Could you explain your grooming process? I wake up at 3 a.m. every morning to ensure that I have enough time to trim my mustache. And how long does that usually take?
Solid 2 hours, give or take. It's important to be precise.
Why is precision important to you?
Well, I'm a very important person, see, and people look up to me, and I think it's important for them to have a role model who sets a high standard.
Hey, much better. Sounds conversational. And when you, the interviewer, keep it conversational, you can get much more specific information from the interviewee in case he or she is vague, like I just was.
And that's another tip. Don't be afraid to ask for more specifics if you don't get a thorough enough answer. So, what else? I accidentally shaved half of my mustache off once. I had to wait 1.5 years before it grew back.
That must have been hard for you.
It was a trying time, but I really feel like I learned a lot about myself just from having to get through that period of darkness and imbalance. I'm proud of my courage.
Good for you.
I've never said this to anyone, but I sometimes get crumbs stuck in my mustache.
And now, a list of the classics. Oldies but goodies. Questions that may seem cliche, but you should use them because they work. And finally, there are some important steps for after the interview. First, I recommend adding to your notes immediately after the interview, while everything is still fresh in your mind. Second, circle or highlight quotes you think you'll end up using. Third, continue your research, following up on things you might have learned during the interview. And fourth, begin writing an interesting interview piece. Well, there you have it. I can't thank Bill enough for helping me today to show you some of the key features of a successful interview. Be sure to let him know how much you appreciate his help the next time you see him.
Thanks, Bill.
No problem, sis. See you guys. Guess I'll see you all in class. Bye.